that's a wrap on setting up my classroom. Something finally came in the mail.
This big rainstorm came one evening, and it started about 10 o'clock, and by 10:15 we'd lost power. We have a generator, so we were able to get that up and running, but in the interim, between losing power and deciding that we would go ahead and start the generator, the quietness woke my kids up. They're used to sleeping with white noise machines and their Amazon Echo glows, so they have that lighting and that noise that's pretty consistent for them. I had just gone into each of their rooms to close their windows. They're on the north end of our house, and the rain always comes in extra ferociously on that end. So I had just closed their windows, and I was tiptoeing out of my daughter's room. The power went out, and she immediately screamed for me. And she was kind of confused and dazed and partly awake, but not totally. So in the end, all three of our children ended up awake. We all came out to the front porch, and we were just watching the storm and enjoying it. I don't want my kids to be afraid of thunder and lightning and rainstorms, and I actually truly enjoy them myself. So by modeling that for them, they now are pretty comfortable with them, and we're sitting out there enjoying the sights and the sounds as well. I really appreciate nature, and I try to pay attention to the smallest of things. And so when we were listening to the rainstorm, we found this little dragonfly, and he was trying to take shelter from the storm. And we were clearly spooking him a little bit, but we were trying to give him space and make sure he felt comfortable in the little nook of our front door where he wasn't going to get rained on. So he hung out there for a while, flying around and bouncing back and forth between the light and our bench that we have in that area, but ultimately he was able to keep himself relatively dry from the storm.
Oh, did you see that lightning? What? Did you see that lightning? Did it not? No, wait. That white stuff that was up in the sky? Did you see that? Yeah. That was lightning. That was lightning. Oh, there's some thunder. And sometimes if you're standing right here, even red lightning. Even red lightning likes to strike a very tall thing, or if it's metal. And we're not made of metal, and the house is way taller than us, so, or it's a telephone pole, that's not as tall. I like when we did those, like, my clothes started flickering, Oh, that was like right there. Kiss. Wait, put Joey back in there. Can I hold him and take a picture of me?
Maybe.
Oh, yeah, guess what I found? A boat
Hank's vet visit went well, and at just shy of 4 months old, he's now 26.5 pounds. Later that evening, I had the opportunity to enjoy dinner with a very good friend of mine. I thoroughly enjoyed these churros that we had for dessert. I spied this very large hornet's nest and just thought I needed to capture it because, again, I like nature and all of the littlest parts of it. In addition to observing hornets, or wasps, I also spent some time checking out these tiger lilies. I was able to collect some of the little black seeds on them that are actually aerial bulbs and contain all of the genetic material needed to grow a new plant. Working hard to start the morning off right with a sweaty run.
Dripping onto the treadmill. What? That's a lot.
After my morning run, it was on to the main focus of the day, getting my classroom in order. We had quite a crew with us. My sister Alex, my husband Brandon, all of our kids, and even Hank joined in for this fun. We decided to start with the biggest task first and just get it out of the way, and that was moving this enormous bookshelf from the corner that you currently see it in to an opposite corner in the classroom. So that entailed taking everything off of it and then relocating it. It took a little bit of finagling. It wasn't necessarily the easiest, but we did it, and it definitely is worth it. One of the trickiest things about my classroom is that there are very few outlets. So a good portion of our day was spent just trying to figure out where to plug things in and how to most effectively use the outlets that do exist in my space. I'm really thankful for both my sister and Brandon's help in my classroom. I don't think that without their support and their assistance, I would have been able to get it done in a single day. And as the saying goes, many hands make light work. How adorable is this little sign? So thankful for this end of the year gift last year from a student. This was Hank's first time seeing bubbles, and what a precious memory it turned out to be.
Got a couple out.
Hank.
All right, and that's a wrap on setting up my classroom for the 2022-2023 school year. It has been a hot and sweaty day, but this is how I like to set up my classroom. I like to just come in and in one day get it all set up. I just kind of work from one corner through the rest of the room. I like to start with my desk area where I'm going to meet with students, and it's kind of like the central hub of the classroom. It's where I keep all my plans and whatnot, so I like to start there. And this year I was moving my space from one end of the classroom to the other. So that was where we began the day, and cozy spaces are super important to me, and among the many things I've learned in my years as an educator, one of them is that students really appreciate a cozy and homey feeling space as well, and when they have that environment, they do their very best learning. I'm calling this a success. It feels quite homey and cozy to me, and I can't wait for my students to come and enjoy the space with me in just a couple more weeks. A couple of my favorite things include these fairy lights, as we like to call them, that I have throughout my space. It just brings a different vibe to the room. And the kids really respond super well to the reduction in lighting. I also like to keep lamps in my classroom. I know not all classrooms have that luxury, but we are able to do that here in our district, so very thankful for that. Fairy lights have been wrapped around that. And one of my other favorite things is all of these paper lanterns. I really enjoy the feel that they bring to the classroom as well. Kind of whimsical, playful. And I like the bright colors. So that's what we've got going on in this space. Something finally came in the mail. It's been almost a week since I filmed in the playroom last, so these definitely took longer than expected to get here, but they're here now. So I'm gonna go ahead and take care of those couple of like crafty items and the markers and crayons and that sort of thing, and decide how I want to arrange them in these little I have quite a few of these bags left over. Several of these smaller ones, and then still several of the bigger ones that I had left over from when I was originally in here. I am thankful that I have extras. I was kind of suspecting that I would end up with extras, and I am thankful for that, because as my children's interest changes and develops, I'm sure that we're going to end up with more sorts of games and different things that would work really well in these pouches. I also know that in their rooms, they each recently got, I have 3 children, but my 2 older ones recently got desks in their bedrooms, and they never had that before, so I know that these bags could be, particularly these smaller ones, could be useful in their rooms already, so that may be where some of them end up. And then also, I'm very pleased to be getting rid of so many single-use plastic containers. I know that bags like this are intended to be used a couple of times if possible, but they're not my favorite, and adding plastic to landfills and things isn't my favorite. So if I can just avoid storing things in bags like this and instead go with bags that are more durable and that have an easy kid-friendly zipper like this, that's great. Because you saw in my original Playroom cleaning video that I was able to take some things that the kids had outgrown from these pouches and then reuse them. And because they are durable, that is possible to do. And then we have some other things here way back when my kids were little and when we were first-time parents, you know, and we were buying like legit Pampers instead of going with off-brand diaper wipes. We kept some of the containers and we were using those for a while to store things like crayons. This was a space maker that I had when I was a kid in elementary school. So this has been around a while. It's still in good shape, so I'm not necessarily going to get rid of it. This one I picked up at a thrift store, and I think I actually purchased it full of markers. And so we just continued to use it for that purpose, markers or colored pencils. And I think we're just moving on from this. It's not the most kid-friendly with this little clasping feature. So since we're able to find something that's a little bit better fit for our kids, we'll just go ahead and donate this. There's nothing wrong with it, and it could be great for another family. So we'll donate that, and then this little pile of stuff. So we've been living in this space for and then we will hang about a week now, and I just wanted to report out on how everything's going. The kids have come in and they've played in here several times, and it's working out really well. They have taken a variety of the bagged items, the activities, the toys down, used them, brought them out into other parts of the house to use them, and then they're able to just bring them back in here and tuck them back onto the shelf. The only thing that isn't happening right now is the ends of the bags with the zipper pulls on them aren't always sticking out, and that's really a minimal thing. I think that if I had gotten the tags on them already, which I do still plan to do but just haven't done yet, if they had the tags on them, I think that the kids would remember to leave that end out because it would be like a visual cue to do that. But since they don't have those tags yet, they're just kind of tucking them in, which works for me because ultimately what I want is for them to play and enjoy their playtime and then feel like picking up is pretty easy and then just tuck it back on the shelf. So if the zipper tab isn't out, that is still a win in my book. And then the rest of the space is staying pretty clean, and when it's getting messy, it's pretty quick and easy to pick up because things are very organized and everything has a place. So it's working well. That's my overall Zoe. That is my overall report to share. And then I just want to share a little tidbit of advice or encouragement. I know that it can feel super overwhelming to try to tackle your kids' spaces or any space, but especially kids' spaces. And I just want to remind you that when you organize a space, it doesn't mean that it's going to be the last time you organize that space, and it doesn't mean that it's going to work perfectly from there on out. Once you've organized a space, you're going to be able to be a little less involved in keeping it organized, but ultimately as the adult in the home, you're still going to enter the space every now and then to tidy it and to continue to go through that process of what are my kids still using, what are they not using anymore, what can we declutter out, what is broken, what is trash. So, every couple of months, I would say, you're still gonna find yourself in that position, but instead of it being a daily battle where you're asking your kids to pick up and they're fighting you and they're picking up, but it's not really looking that great afterwards. They're just kind of shoving things wherever they can. You're going to be able to avoid that. And so I do still think it's an improvement, but I just wanted to make it clear that I don't even have the luxury of just like, I'm not cleaning this space and then being like, bye, never touching that again. And I think early on in my parenthood journey, I kind of had that thought at times that
I would come into a space, organize it, and then it would be good for a super long time. And now I've come in to learn that I come into a space, I organize it, and it is pretty good to go. It just now requires minimal maintenance on my part. And the easier I make it for my kids to keep the space clean, the more organized I keep things, then the more organized the space stays and for longer. So just wanted to say that as a bit of encouragement, because I know when you take the time to organize a space and then you turn around and see it messy, it can feel very deflating. But just know that you're still benefiting your space, your home, your children's lives by taking the time to do that organizing, because ultimately it does make things simpler and it puts routines in place, and it just helps your kids to understand that everything has a place where it belongs, and they get into that habit. They start building those that muscle memory, if you will, of where things go and that picking up skill, so that they can hopefully continue to use that skill throughout their lives. So it is still beneficial, but just know that it will require a little bit of upkeep on your part every once in a while.
Thank you for spending some of your time here at The Bee's Business. I hope you found today's content beneficial and that you'll stop by my channel again in the future.